Thank you once again for watching our videos. Today, we're going to tackle one of the most important aspects of teaching, feedback. Feedback is a source of interest from teachers on learning. Namely, it represents a significant aspect of teaching for wanting our learners to enhance each time they do an activity. Feedback is closely related to judgments, so it could be either positive or negative. It's helpful to identify those flaws as strengths and weaknesses.
What is giving feedback? It's giving information to someone about their learning process. Feedback can be given to students and also to teachers. It can be provided orally or written, and also it can be given as a whole class, to small groups, or to individuals.
Feedback can be provided during the different stages of a lesson, beginning with commenting on work previously marked and done by a student, during while activities when monitoring what they do in some tasks, and at the end to tell the student how they did and correct mistakes. When giving feedback as teachers, try to give it in a private manner so as to avoid the other students to listen to it. Feedback is more meaningful for learners when it's given privately. When they are performing pair work or group work, it is important to provide a personal feedback and a group feedback as well. However, not only students can receive feedback, teachers as well. This is a clear example when students write diaries. What is a diary? Diaries can be written in L1 or in the target language. Diaries are collected by the teacher on a regular basis. So the teacher reads comments and writes something in response to the content of what she has read, or what she does not correct language. Learner diaries are not read by other learners or by other teachers. In this way, teachers and learners can give and receive feedback within a safe and secure context. The focus of feedback varies upon what the teacher expects learners to accomplish throughout his or her learning process. Now, let's pay attention to the different focuses that feedback has. Feedback can be focused on attitude and behavior. The focus here is to raise a student's awareness towards their discipline. Also, personal aspects that interfere their learning process. Also, it's very important to monitor a student's discipline while performing activities. Second, we have progress, effort, and achievement. The focus here is to encourage learners to keep on doing it great in an activity or task. Also, to acknowledge learners' accomplishments. Lastly, to strengthen their good aspects of their development as learners.
Then we have language, informing the learners of what the problem was with the work and telling them exactly what they need to review and how. And lastly, we have ideas and content, prompting what the learners have to do to organize and modify their ideas.
Now, let's do some practice. Listen and read the following comments given by teachers.
Your sketches were very imaginative, but I still notice some slips. Little things you should know, like forgetting the S for possessives. Try to correct each other on these when you are rehearsing together.
Now you're gonna have some seconds to decide if the comment belongs to attitude, progress, ideas, or language. Time is up! Now let's check your answers. The answer is language. Since the teacher makes students know that they have some failures regarding grammar, specifically possessives. So far, so good. Let's continue with the rest of the comments. Natalie, when you receive text messages on your mobile phone in class time, you miss important input. How about turning it off next lesson? Now, decide if the comment belongs to attitude, progress, ideas, or language. Time is up! Now let's check your answers. The answer is behavior, since the teacher makes the student know that cell phones sometimes are not allowed when he or she is explaining something. So far, so good. Let's continue with the rest of the comments.
Thank you, Class 4Y, for singing at our open day. Your pronunciation has improved a lot.
Now, decide if the comment belongs to attitude, progress, ideas, or language. Time is up! Now let's check your answers. The answer is progress, effort, and achievement, since the teacher made the student know that she or he has improved regarding this subject. Meanwhile, we prepare the rest of the contents to be shown, which is for you the most important aspect of feedback to be considered when performing a class up until this point.
Another important aspect in feedback is how to collect and provide good feedback to our students. So first, we can collect feedback through questionnaires, also through learner diaries or reflective logs, in which students write their feelings or comments concerning the teaching and learning process. These can be about the lesson content, activities, or the learning styles. It can be guided by the teacher and written in L1 or L2. And its main aim is to provide and receive feedback in a secure context. Second, we can collect and provide feedback through formal or informal assessment, through tutorials or small meetings, and of course, through comments, grades, or marks. We need to also bear in mind some important strategies when giving feedback. First, we need to provide opportune feedback when students are still engaged with the aim of the lesson and they can actually use the feedback provided. Second, we need to be aware of the amount of feedback given. We don't want our students to feel overwhelmed with it, otherwise, it would lose its purpose. Third, we need to include comments on positive and weak aspects. And we need to view feedback as an essential step in assessment. So, as teachers, we need to take into account our students' proficiency and their learning needs in order to contextualize these guidelines to local practice.
According to Susan Askew, feedback on education has to be delivered in a sandwich manner, comprising teachers highlighting the positive aspects of learners' performance, continuing with the weaknesses features of it, and then finishing with a friendly or even to encourage young learners to strengthen those weaknesses for next time. When delivering feedback, take into account for your students' proposals or suggestions so as to help them to enhance what they did. This supports learners who struggle with finding new ideas or getting better feedback for next time. Now, let's do some practice. Listen and read the following comments given by teachers. Comment A. 50%, you work hard for this test. Raymond and I imagine you will be a little disappointed with the grade. Look at the section on phrasal verbs again. This made all the difference between a pass and a fail.
Your sketches were very imaginative, but I still noticed some slips. Little things you should know, like forgetting the S for possessives. Try to correct each other on these when you are rehearsing together.
Now, let's compare both of the comments previously mentioned. The first comment, it's not that appropriate because it does not provide clear comments on how to improve. Furthermore, it's too focused on negative aspects of the student achievement. Last, it does not provide suggestions or any proposals for students to improve next time. Whereas the second comment, it's the most appropriate one. The feedback here is complete, since the teacher effectively addressed the weaknesses of the student. Also, the amount of feedback does not overwhelm them. The teacher was very specific when saying that the main issue was the S for possessives. There is another very important point that we haven't discussed yet related to feedback. This is called peer feedback. Peer feedback can be oral or written and can cover the same focus areas as teachers' feedback. The learners who give the feedback reflect upon the work their classmates have done. The learners who receive the feedback are given information on how they can enhance what they have done. Peer feedback can have a very important effect on classroom dynamics and can help to train learners in skills they need to become autonomous. Now, for closing the topic, let's review some of the most important things to consider.
Okay, so now that you have learned why it's important to give feedback, we need to highlight some important aspects. First, feedback should be balanced, focused, and helpful. We need to start with positive comments and then with areas that need improvement. We also need to be clear so students know exactly how and what to improve. This is especially useful with less confident learners. Secondly, feedback can be given during the different stages of a lesson. Third, during class or individual feedback, it is suggested to revise difficult language, to provide practice exercises, or include a review for next class. We also need to consider that feedback that is more personal should be given privately. And lastly, when collecting learners' feedback, it is important to provide a framework for it, like questions or specific tasks, for them to become familiar with this process and also learn about its usefulness.
During the entire topic, we have discussed about how teachers work with feedback. However, we do all once were students. So, can you recall a positive or negative experience being a student receiving feedback? Now you can discuss this question with a partner or even in groups. Remember to consider all the points emphasized in the video. Thank you so much for clicking once again in our videos. We hope you have found interesting information and useful regarding feedback. Our information was taken from the following books: